Hello everyone, my name is Sandra Viviana Pinzón and today I'll be talking about the task 3 for the subject Intercultural Communication and Language Teaching. The variation of English I chose to do this activity is the Irish English, as its name says, is the variation taught in the Irish Island. But we have to determine something very important. The Irish Island is divided into two countries. The Northern Ireland, that is part of Great Britain, and the Republic of Ireland, that is the one I'm going to talk about. About the number of speakers, there are around 6.5 million people in the island, and 98% of that people speak English and this variation of English. It is important to highlight that 39 of that population speaks also Irish as a second language, and there are other variations or other native languages like Osler Scotch that is also taught in the country. Some important moments of the history of this variety of English are the introduction of Anglo-Norman language after the Norman invasion in 1169, the gradual decline of Gaelic as the dominant language, resulting in the shift of Irish-speaking country to English-speaking country. The establishment of the district English dialect by the early 18th century, and one of the most important that was relevant in terms of society is the impact of grain famine in 19th century. This increased immigration to many different population or native population to different parts of the world. Talking about the classification according to Catcher's and Meyer's model, we have to remember that in Catcher's model, Irish English is not established. Catcher's mentioned 3 different circles in his model, and he mentions the inner circle, and he refers to traditional and cultural English bases in English. It is we can establish in this circle like the most popular, the most dominant English variations like the United States, Canadian English, Australian, New Zealand, but Irish was not part of that circle. We have the expanding circle, which includes the regions where the performance varieties of the language are used essentially in EF context. As I mentioned before, Irish English was not considered in this theory yet. But if we go to Meyer's model, he in his theory he established the hypocentral variety, supercentral varieties, central varieties, and hyperial varieties. In this theory, in Meyer's model, Irish English is considered as in the central variety as Scottish, Jamaican, Ghanaian, or Kenyan English. So, as a summary, a really brief summary of what I said before, in Catcher's model, Irish English was not established in any of the circles, but in Meyer's model, the Irish English was considered in central varieties or English. Now I'm going to talk about the remarkable features of Irish English or the received pronunciation that Irish has from the British English. So, the first one is the rhotic pronunciation. We know that one of the characteristics of the British accent is the R, the rhotic pronunciation at the end of some words. For example, in British English, we have the word like car or path or even water. We pronounce it like car, pot, or water. But in Irish, that distinction doesn't exist. I have found kind of difficult Irish English, so I remember it as the round vowel is pronounced as it is in American English. So instead of saying car, to say car, in Irish we say car. Or water, in British accent we say it water in Irish accent. One feature that I found really interesting is the one producing the S before some consonants, and it is due to the Gaelic influence of the language. What happens is that an starting S before a consonant assumes the sound of a sh. So instead of saying start, we will say starts, and we have to consider the one I mentioned about T. For me, it's kind of difficult to pronounce. I have found it very, very interesting, but it's one of the characteristics of the Irish variation and what makes it difficult to understand or even do. Another example is, for example, the word stop wouldn't sound stop, it will sound stop. Another variation of the Irish English is the stopping or the fricative th, the sound. For example, we have a sentence, this thing, and we have at the beginning of both words the fricative. So in Irish accent, the fricative th or the stop th sound it is changed for an explosive one. So we won't say this thing, we will say this thing. It is very curious and it is a very important variation or a very important feature about pronunciation in this accent. Talking about the implications and connotations for the community, well, I would like to talk about this section into two parts. The first one is about the past, and the second one will be about the present, what is happening nowadays. Well, the first part is something that we already know. Due to the war, the Second World War and stuff, many people migrated from Ireland to United States to the island of Ellis in the United States, and this, well, decreased the number of Irish speakers in the island and promotes the increase of English speakers in the country. But it has changed thanks to different nationalistic movement who wants to recover Irish as more and more spoken language. This permits the variation of English and also the socioeconomic factors. For example, a person from high class is going to use different English, is going to be highly influenced by British English or American English, with a difference from a person from the countryside who is going to have a different variation, is going to be influenced by Irish or other different native languages. So Irish English continued changing as any other variations due to the culture, the economic factors that now influence English around the world, but it's also being influenced by what is happening inside the country with soft movements that want to promote the learning of Irish and recovering native language in the country. As a way to summarize, this variation is very, very, very interesting because it is one of the oldest in Europe, and it is still being influenced by, as I mentioned, British, that is the next island, and the American culture that is becoming very popular because of the music, movies, series, and so. So the pronunciation and the different accent variations, I have found it really, really hard. I have to admit, I mm, I try to pronounce. I try to do the same sounds, but I am not used to because well, I'm used to American English. But it is very important to try to practice and try to understand why they pronounce that way. It is very enriching to know that is influenced by very native language that was were very influenced for all English, and I will keep studying and looking for more information about this variation. Thank you so much.